All righty. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. Welcome to the first collaboration corner of 2023. We have David Bowels with us. Here to talk to you about marketing, how to operate your business or your brand like a marketing agency. We're live inside of Ambition Center as well as online, which is a shared office and co-working space here right on the north side of Milwaukee. And I will pass it on to David.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm David, as I mentioned, and I'm really focused on talking to us today a little bit about how we can use social impact and cause marketing to really drive new business and sales. All you entrepreneurs. So today, we'll just be talking a little bit about how we make it relevant to each of us, and kind of how we can all apply this to our lives. So let me start by just kind of walking us through today and what we're going to be talking about. Clicker's not working. Of course, if something had to go wrong, it would go wrong with me, right? So let's see. Hey, the clicker went off. That's probably why. There you go. There we go. Okay. I don't know technology clearly. So I'll give you a little bit of background about me and my company. Talk a little bit about some marketing myths. I think, when it comes to talking about marketing, I always find it interesting that there's some common perceptions out there. I want to kind of address some of those and clarify it. I'll talk to you a little bit about the value in marketing your values. So yes, that was written correctly. There is value in talking about what you stand for and your values, and then how to capitalize on that. And then we'll save time for questions. I want to make this a discussion. Like I said, I don't like to hear myself speak, so we can really just get through this and then have a chat, and hopefully I can answer all your questions. So a little about CMRIgnite. We are a social impact and behavior change marketing agency. We, as a company, do not sell, new bottles of Coke and new cars. We focus on social impact and cause marketing every day. We're a full service agency that really is focused on creating a change and positive change in the community you need the most. So we've got 60 plus full-time employees who've been around since 1995. I'm the president of the organization, but we've got a lot of people in different spaces, everything from research to paid media to social media, who really support our clients and, again, having an impact on the world. And so our team, we pride ourselves on being a team that's 70% plus BIPOC. That was intentional. Oftentimes in this industry, you hear that there's not enough diverse professionals, so they can't find anyone. That's not true. So you just got to look and you got to be intentional about it. And we've built a company that reflects America and more diverse than America. So here's a little snapshot of our staff and kind of what they look like. So that you can see the diversity that we live every day. So just a little of us, like I said, we do everything from research to planning to paid media. Basically, what this means is that if there's a marketing campaign that's needed, our team can do it. So anything from soup to nuts, if you said, hey, I need to do a study on understanding my consumers, to, hey, I don't know how to really run a billboard ad campaign, I need some help with that. We can support that, and that's what we do. So our clients, we work with a number of local organizations as well as some national organizations. So this is just a list of some of our clients. We got about 45 active clients right now in a variety of different sectors. So we are the largest and oldest minority-owned agency in Wisconsin. We take pride in that, and it's because of these wonderful partners that we're able to be the kind of agency that we are. So enough about us. I want to talk a little bit about why you're here today, because we want to talk about marketing and how we can better market ourselves. But to do that, we all need to get on the same page around, facts and myths around marketing. So I'm going to go through a few of these. And the PowerPoint is actually clicked in, so just don't read ahead. We'll make it work. But the first myth is that marketing is a waste of resources, can be better spent on supplies, etc. that is the hardest one to overcome as a marketer. And the reality is that marketing itself is the single most important factor that drives sales. So when you think about what marketing really does for your business, it helps to put your brand out there so that you can get more customers. At the end of the day, effective marketing does that for you, whether you're selling, social impact like we do, or whether you're selling new cars. Marketing helps you to do that and help to drive those sales. So you want to make sure that you're focused on it because it actually does have an impact. And it affects what your consumers think about you and how they make buying decisions. So if you're marketing yourselves well and you've got a good brand position, people are making decisions and they're thinking about you in a positive light. If you aren't doing that, they may have a negative perception of you. So just keep that in mind. Second myth, quality products and services will sell themselves. As much as I want to stress quality work, because I stress it in my own company, the reality is that the squeaky wheel does get the oil. Ever heard that saying? It's real. It doesn't mean that that's the best wheel. It means that that's the loudest voice. And so in marketing, you're competing against a lot of different voices out there. You're competing against noise. And having a brand and that people recognize, that people trust, is how you elevate yourself so that they make those decisions. So consumers are not saying, well, is an iPhone a better quality than an Android? They're saying, how do I feel about each of those, right? And that's how I make my buying decisions, how I feel. So we have to remember that buying decisions are not based on objective truth. They're based on subjective reality of that person making the decision. And the third myth that I think is always, I always chuckle at is marketing is simple and anybody can do it, right? And we all think, I guess, that communication is easy because we're social creatures and we all communicate, right? We talk to each other, our families, our friends, lovers, whatever. And so communication is simple. Most people think they can do it. But the reality is that there's a difference between marketing and effective marketing. Effective marketing, like I have here, uses tested methodologies that are rooted in behavioral economics. So I spent my career learning how to better communicate, understanding how people make buying decisions, using psychology to do that. I'm not saying that I know everything, but to downplay marketing is similar to downplaying your lawyers or your doctors. It's the same thing, believe it or not. And so when done right, you can get great results. When you don't do it right, you might not get exactly what you're looking for. So just want to make sure that we address those myths before we go into today, because a lot of what you're going to hear touches on the truths. And I want to make sure that we really establish that for everybody. So some real talk here. Okay. Like, I know I talked a lot about our agency and about myths and about this being a science, and it is. But the reality is you don't need a fancy, expensive marketing agency to effectively market your company. That's why I wanted to come today to talk to you all. You're bright people, you're entrepreneurs, you're people who are making a change. You can do it yourselves. And you do it by communicating your values and connecting with people on an intimate level. When we talk about impacting our community, particularly Black and Brown communities, how do we do that? We connect with each other. We know our values, we know what we stand for, and that's the way that you can actually connect with your consumers and they'll support your business, right? More than just, I'm buying your product because of its quality or because it's Black owned itself. There's a deeper level to go there. So let's talk about that today as we move forward. So I'm sure many of you are thinking, look, communicating values is nice and it sounds warm and fuzzy, but how does that connect with me getting sales, right? Having an impact. And the proof is in the pudding. So there's real data behind this that we actually conducted about 6 months ago. So my team, we paid for and set up a full survey across the United States that really looked at US consumers and relating to their commitment to brands around social movements and social responsibilities. And so what we did was we took these results and we really wanted to show that brands that communicate their value and their positioning as it relates to social impact actually do better and people want to buy those brands. Think about Nike and Colin Kaepernick, right? After the NFL, after he was basically blacklisted from the NFL, Nike said, look, we have consumers who care about the things that this man's talking about. Let's bring him in. Their sales skyrocketed. One of the most successful stocks that you could buy when they launched that campaign. So we've seen it, but I want to show you the data behind it. So target audiences, we looked at a sample of consumers across the United States, 18 plus. And then, as I mentioned, our methodology was in April, we ran this survey with 1,000 participants, and we looked at over-indexing among African-American and Latinos because we wanted to really capture what those two crucial segments thought about this. And you'll see some results shortly. So this first one, the question here is thinking of products you regularly purchase, how important to you that brands you buy from, and then they give you some answers and you rank them on what you think is important. The top answer that you see there is are committed to paying living wages to their employees, right? Like that's a big thing. People want to make sure that they're supporting brands that treat their people right. So when you think about your own business, think about how you treat your employees if you have any. If it's you, how do you treat yourself? Making sure that you're setting your business up for success there. Are committed to environmental sustainability. That's another big one. We know that it's really important that you have a positive impact on our world. We know, when we talk about environmental justice, which is a big topic now, it affects Black and brown communities more. Pollution is poisoning our communities, and we want to do something about it. Are committed to ethical trade practices, produce their products locally, are locally owned, different things that are critical to people. But you can also see there, are committed to tackling income inequality and poverty, right? Have an inclusive culture. So a lot of these things around values, things that most of us can relate to, are what the surveys are showing people really do care about as they look to the brands they want to buy from. I want to share another question with you. Thinking of the products you regularly purchase, how important it is to you that the brands you buy from, and then they kind of list the answers here. Let's look at the top three. Take a stand against anti-Semitism, take a stand for racial justice, and share their purpose, vision, and mission with consumers. So people care about that, right? Things that we all care about, I'm guessing, folks care about, and they make buying decisions based on, are you able to take a stand? Are you able to communicate that? And so this is some of the work that we do as a company. We work with GE and some larger brands to do this work, but it's critical and it actually has an impact. And that's what I wanted to show with this research. So again, what does this all mean to you? Let's recap it. First, knowing what your audience's values give your organization the opportunity to position yourself in a way that reaches your target audience. So you know what? What I would recommend is finding the areas of overlap for values, right? Don't make it pandering, but be real. If that's what you genuinely value as a business, find what your consumers value and align with that. And you can communicate on that. We'll talk a little bit about how to do that in a few slides. Show that you care about social causes, and you'll increase the likelihood that they choose you over your competition. It sounds simple, but showing that you saw the data, showing that you come ready, that you care is a way that you connect with people, that they understand your brand and what it stands for. So simple things like just communicating on your social media channels about the causes that you care for can be a way that you can help to drive customers. And then delivering the message is just as important as knowing what the audience are saying. So how are you connecting to your consumers and staying present in the conversation? So, are you using the kind of channels that they're communicating in? Are you present? Are you going to events like this? Are you in the community to connect with them? That's what they want to know. And people are looking for that. And if you aren't doing it, you're not going to be able to competitively position yourself. So I want to talk about those things and kind of how that all fits together. So I shared some data, shared a little bit of conclusions about that, but how do we capitalize on this, right? Because at the end of the day, my job here is to see you all succeed. I really was intrigued by this opportunity because as a successful minority-owned business, this matters to me, right? And being able to see other small businesses, people in co-workspaces who are looking to thrive is critical. So I want to give you some takeaways that I hope are helpful. And I can always follow up if you need anything, just reach out and we're happy to provide more insight. So what we do is we take really there's more stages in this, but it's boiled down to 4 steps. We focus on behavior change, as I talked about at the beginning. We do social impact. So behavioral science is at our root. I have a background in it. Many of my staff do as well. But there's 4 major steps that we look at. So we start with research. We say, who are our audiences? What do they believe? What do they value? What do they fear? How do we connect with them on an intimate level? Then we take that and we say, let's build strategy. So what that means is that we say, okay, we know how they're thinking. How do we best communicate with them so that we can get them to understand what we're saying and connect with us on that genuine level? And that's where that strategy piece comes in. Then the third piece is we say, okay, now that we kind of know the roadmap where we want to go, how do we design a campaign or a marketing effort to reach them? So let's say, we want to get people to take a COVID vaccine. how do we speak with them in spaces where they're thinking about that, right? And they're feeling comfortable. If they have some unease about the COVID vaccine, how do we address that in an appropriate way? And so that's where the campaign design comes in. And then lastly, you run the campaign and you analyze. You say, okay, we got this campaign, it's moving forward. How do we make sure that's actually meeting our goals and objectives? And that's the kind of process that we take. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is that I'm gonna outline some steps today that maybe won't be as in-depth as the one that we do, but it'll at least help you have a structure to say, you can go out and do this yourself. Like I said, you probably won't need an agency like ours. If some agency comes to you and wants to charge you a bunch of money, I would question them before you jump in. And I'd say, what are you really getting with this partner? And are you able to do some things yourself as a small business? That's a big expense to take on as a small business. And I would just caution you against that, despite it being my business. I would caution you to look into that. So hopefully today I can give you some advice. Okay, so each of these. So first, understanding your audience. So instead of doing a big market research study, which can be 10, 20K, you can just talk to folks. Just ask them, what do they value? What inspires them? It's not, you're not there to try to, trick them into buying your product. You just sit down with folks and say, look, if you've got, your regular customers who use you, you might just pick up the phone or see them in person and say, what inspires you? What do you believe in? What are your values? And just listen and take some notes and you can synthesize that. So that's how you get that audience understanding of where are they coming from, what do they believe? Next is align their values with their brand. I want to be really crucial here. Be authentic. The thing that I hate seeing the most is brands that, as everyone knows, and it's not the most politically correct thing to say, but right now, diversity and inclusion is the flavor of the day, right? And we've been doing this for 28 years. So I'm sitting here going, I've been yelling this from the mountaintops for a long time. No one's been listening to me, and now it's, the flavor of the day. But it's inauthentic, right? So when I see that as a Black man and I see ads that pander to me on diversity and inclusion, I just kind of roll my eyes. But the ones that are actually authentic, right, and genuine, putting the work in, I'm like, okay, I see you. Like Nike, for example, they knew how to do it in a way that was genuine, and it didn't feel like they were pandering to us. They understood that we as a community were going through a time when we were trying to bring light to a real issue that's systemic in this country. And we had certain people telling us to shut up and play ball or whatever it was. And so the way that we felt around that was not being communicated, and they found a way to find someone who could authentically connect with us, right? So again, going back to that example, that's how you really align your brand with their values, right? You get real with people. You don't, try to pander. You don't try to do what's, the popular thing right now. You figure out where your brand overlaps with their values and how you can tell that story. Incorporate those values into your content. So, if you're a small business, you probably aren't running, television ads, but you probably are using social media, right? You're on Instagram, maybe Twitter. Well, maybe not so much Twitter anymore. Other spaces, Facebook, TikTok, and you're out there. You're telling your story. Try to incorporate that into there, right? Communicate your values. Talk what you stand for. You don't have to be brash in people's faces, but you can just say, hey, look, this is what our company stands for, and we're committed to the community and moving us forward. And when you buy from a company like ours, you get these values, right? So now we're going to build, we're going to grow, we're going to be able to hire. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than a minority business that can hire people back in the community. It was critical for me. When I joined our company, we were 5 people. I helped scale it to 65, and every single step of the way, I was deliberate about making sure that we had equitable hiring practices to have a company that's over 70% BIPOC. That was an intentional choice. So this is important, and it again, it helps to build our community. And then ask for feedback. Kane here is for my team, and he knows one of the things I always do is ask for people to give feedback. I say, let me know how we can get better. I want to hear the good and the bad. I have thick skin, so I can take it. So tell me if I'm not doing something right. Tell me how to be a better leader. But we all have to do that with our clients as well. So go to folks and say, hey, how do you feel about marketing approach? And if someone says to you, man, look, you just seem like you just putting it out there just to be some sort of way, you might want to scale it back, right? You might want to say, okay, let me be a little bit more authentic. Let me just figure out how I do this the right way. But your audiences and your customers who are loyal to you will give you that real feedback. They're always going to be there to trust, and you have to be able to trust them, and keep listening and improving. Okay, so that was faster than I thought, but I see we have a lot of questions in the chat. So I'm going to try to pull those up and maybe see if I can answer those. I wanted to leave 30 minutes or so for discussion, so happy to do that. Yeah, I might not see. I'm sorry.
The question is, I would like to know what a startup business should invest in their budget for marketing.
Great question. So I'm going to answer that with a percentage, because I think the best way to look at that is I can't give you a number, because it depends on your industry. It depends on a lot of factors. But I would say, you should aim to spend, probably 5 to 10% of your operating budget on marketing. And again, marketing doesn't have to be fancy ads. If someone came to you and said, they're going to charge you $20,000 to do a logo, I would tell you, don't pay that. I would say, if you're a startup business, take that money and put it into something that will generate sales. Not that a logo won't generate sales. I'll tell you how it does. A brand is critical, right? It's the first thing that people see. And when you see stuff, you get emotional about it. And so buying decisions are based in emotion. So a brand, a logo, the colors you use, the designs can actually drive sales directly. But when we're talking about limited funds, which we've all been there. I mean, I've been places where our company had to really scrap by. And so you want to, make sure that you're investing the dollars in this place that give you the best ROI. So I would say probably closer to 10% of your budget marketing, and figure out ways to, like I talked about, authentically connect with your audiences. Probably bullets 2 and 3 are the biggest ones for you for those dollars. So I hope that answered the question.
Two questions in the chat. Talk more about the best ways we've seen startups and small businesses collect various data feedback and data. Collect various feedback and data, and how often should they be doing?
Yeah. I think there's a couple of ways. So there's a lot of websites you can use that have low cost data collection for you. I don't have them off the top of my head, but there's a few that you can use. If you go, again, a research firm will cost you a lot of money. I would not recommend doing that. But a way that I do it with my own clients, I just talk to them. I create a list of questions that I think they should answer, and I go and I ask them, and I just collect that data for each question. And so now you've got a sample size of people who currently buy from you, or you could talk to people who you want to buy from you. So let's say, you're selling, you have an insurance business, okay, and you're selling life insurance or something. You might want to say, okay, who are my target audiences, and can I go to the spaces where they're at, and just talk to folks and ask them some questions. Do it for free. They don't even have to know it's a survey. You can just keep the information yourself and kind of get a little tally of that information. So that's one way to do it. I would say you should be doing it at least annually, if not semi-annually, every 6 months. As you grow as an organization, you'll be able to do it more frequently, because you'll need that data to drive more sales and be more optimized. But right now, annual, you could get by with that, just to have that insight for that data. Hope that was helpful.
How would you recommend a small business be marketing outside of social media, or outside of social media?
That is a good question. So outside of social media, right, when you talk about these other channels, you are talking about more of a cost associated usually. So a really good channel to do it would be digital advertising. It's, not that expensive, but if you have a good website, I would say, like, next investment outside social media is a great website. People, I don't know about you all, but whenever I hear about something, first thing I do is I Google it, right? I check it out and I see, what are you about? And if people go to your website and it looks tacky and looks from 2002, they're going to be like, okay, is this business really up to the standards that I'm expecting? People want quality. You know, they want to know that they're spending their dollars with someone who is going to get the job done, especially if you're providing services. So, you know, you want to make sure that you've got a good website. You don't need to spend a fortune. Again, you can do this in a cost-effective manner. There's a lot of small agencies who are minority owned, even design agencies here in the city I can recommend you to, who can help you create a nice website. We might not be the most cost-effective solution, but certainly I can point you to some of those. But that would be a good investment. And then, you know, driving people to that website would be how I'm tying all together to say, you know, if you want to go outside social media, word of mouth, now when you run these digital campaigns, so a digital campaign is basically those little ads you get on your screen that you can click on, and then it takes you to a website. So it might say like, you know, best food in town, and then you click on it and you go to some website, and that's how that works. And so if you want to use that, it's a very effective method, but you need to have the website that can capture people. Because if you get them to your website and they're like, this sucks, and they leave, you've lost a customer and you spent a lot of money that you really can't get back. So just something to think about.
Message, you specifically focus on value, you know, so to speak, when you're putting that message out public, or do like what ingredients do you use that together?
Yeah, the question was, when putting together your marketing message, do you focus on the values first, or is that the biggest ingredient in the pie, right? And the answer is no. It's important. I want to be very clear, but at the end of the day, you really want to focus on what's called your value proposition, which is why someone should buy from you versus your competitor. That's all that is. Focus on that, but then you can tie in your values into that, right? So let's say we're selling this Starbucks coffee, and Starbucks doesn't need any help with their marketing because they spend a ton of money on it. And I wish they would hire me. No, but you know, this coffee's great, right? And there's a reason that I like it, but they can sell me on that. But if they are not a company that's also communicating to me their values about what they stand for, I know, like, for example, Starbucks as a company is big on their employee diversity, which is important to me because I go in person to my Starbucks. And I know all the baristas, they're big on Black, LGBTQ, like it's huge. And that's why I like the experience, right? It's like their coffee's fine, but I mean, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, they probably all have decent coffee, but it's the experience that I get, and they communicate that to me. They tell me that their coffee, the product is great. I know that. It helps me get through days when I don't sleep, but it's also, you know, like, here's what we stand for. So if you can focus on your value proposition, what sets you apart from your competitors, but then also find ways to kind of loop in those values, I think that would set you up for success. Great question.
Before you did it, once you have a value proposition set up as a business, does it make sense to be on every social media platform, or does it make more sense to identify exactly where the audience is and where to actually make the platform use?
Excellent question. So the answer would be to go to the channels where your audiences are, right? You don't want to spread yourself too thin. Part of what I think a lot of small businesses struggle with is they think, I have to boil the ocean overnight. And no, Amazon was not built in a day. It took many years, and it took a lot of deliberate scaling. You have limited resources. So to your question, Kane, you know, you want to make sure that you're in the channels where your audiences are. What's the low-hanging fruit? I mean, again, part of this will come from talking to folks, asking them, hey, look, you know, when you're thinking about buying a product, are you going to buy it on Instagram, or are you going to buy it on this other channel? And if they say, I'm buying it on Instagram, or yeah, I engage with brands on Instagram, I love the content they put out, you know in your head, okay, if I'm trying to get them to think about a buying decision, Instagram is that channel to do that, right? Again, talking to your audiences, hearing about them will be helpful for you. But you don't want to do everything. I think I would have a very targeted approach and say, we're going to focus on these 3 channels and move forward. We do it for ourselves, actually. I just got off the phone before this call with my VP of PR, and we have our own plan for marketing our agency, and it's targeted. We're on certain social media channels, we've got certain content. We've got, certain publications that we reach out to. So it helps to be targeted. You want a rifle instead of a shotgun approach. Sorry to reference guns. That was probably not appropriate. We do a lot of anti-gun campaigns as well. So there's more questions on the chat. If there's any more in the room right now, or you want?
So the person who asked about site, I said if you are site and logos last brand.
Yeah.
Digital,
and then if you've got the dollars, I would say looking into outdoor radio. So outdoors, like billboards that you see or the ads on the side of the bus. Radio, you hear ads on the radio. To be very honest, everyone here, I would lean more towards, you can do all those things digitally. And the advantage of doing them digitally is they're measurable, right? Like the biggest thing that I tell my clients is, if you're going to hire an agency like mine and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, you better be getting results that you can measure, because I should be held accountable. And if I'm not doing my job, you should fire me. And I said that in those exact terms. And I mean that, because part of what I always say to people is, look, I know we can perform, but I want to be able to show you I can perform, and you should be able to track, hey, David, I spent X dollars. What's the return I'm getting? Digital is the only platform that lets you do that. Not knocking on outdoor. We have wonderful partners there. I know all the media people, they're great, but they're measuring things like impressions, which is basically saying how many times a set of eyeballs hits your ad. Well, if you're measuring me and I'm driving in a car, and I don't do this, but if I'm driving in the car, I'm texting on the phone and you have a billboard, well, they measure that by car traffic. They say, well, those eyeballs hit my ad. No, it didn't. My eyeballs were on my phone. You know what I mean? Like, so and there's no way to capture that. Whereas with an ad, you can look at click-through, you can see if someone hovers over it, you can pull all this data. So sorry to get into it. As you can see, I'm a nerd for what I do, but but the point is that there's other channels you can look at. I would say digital everything first, because it's measurable. And if you've got a great website and a great brand, I would build on that. I would lean on that. I would say make it mobile compatible if it's not already, and push the sales through that. Yeah, we do a lot of work around children and families. And so I think with children, we need to understand who's really making the buying decision, right? Like, kids will buy themselves. Obviously, there's some limitations on the kind of research you can do with children. And so I want to make sure I don't go into those waters without my legal team and my research team telling me what I can and can't say. But the point is that, with youth marketing, you want to make sure authenticity is even more important. These young people can see through everything. We did a campaign recently around sexual assault, domestic violence among youth. So young people respecting their relationships. And we had come up with this whole brand, and we thought it was like really great. Now, granted, everyone who created this is in their 30s and 40s. And so, right, so we did it, and we got people of color doing that. We're like, oh yeah, this is hot. We take it to these kids, they're teenagers, they're like, well, we like it, but I mean, you need this, and that. And we were like, okay. And so we listened to them, and we went back and we changed it. And the brand was really successful. The campaign was successful because it was authentic, right? It captured what those young people, what their lives were like. And so I think a lot of people try to, a lot of adults try to be cool and, oh yeah, I know what young people think because they want to be young. The truth is, you're not young, you're old, and that's okay. And like, that comes with its own benefits, but listen to the young people, talk to them if you can, and let them give you feedback. I think that'll, frankly, give you the best bang for your buck, if you ask me. So.
Website.
Counting. I like that. So when I think about money, which I think about a lot, I run a business. When I think about money, I think about, like you said, trust building. But it's more than just like that, right? Because trust in the context of financial planning, accounting, money, really comes down to, are you helping me achieve my greatest level of financial freedom? And so one thing that we're trying to do more of is really speak to, how do we build wealth in Black and brown communities? And so one thing that we've been exploring, and we've done a lot of research on this, is making sure that you're at those conversations where we're talking about the wealth gap, right? And you're a subject matter expert. Part of what I think you can do for your accounting business is really ensure that you're present in those conversations where we're talking about building wealth among communities of color, and you aren't selling yourself and trying to be in front of them too much, but you're also showing them that you know what you're doing, right? You're an accountant, and the reason that you do your accounting, I'm guessing, is because you care about this community, you care about giving back, you want to see us thrive. And so how do you tell that story again in an authentic way, but you show yourself as someone who knows what they're talking about? Because I'm not giving my money to anybody who doesn't know what they're doing. I'm telling you right now, and I'm going to vet you because my background's in finance. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and I'm hopeful that you can answer me. But you sound like someone, I don't know you, but it seems like you're someone who knows what they're doing to build this business. So that might be what I would recommend is, as you think about your content strategy, how do you position yourself as an expert in the space? And how do you, make sure that you're present at those conversations around, closing the wealth gap and Black home ownership and other things that we know that will contribute to our economic, advancement and really helping to move that forward. So I offer cooking classes for children. My website is the Nest Culinary School, and our website is great, but still having issues getting customers. Okay, so what I would say with that is maybe what you do is you think about going back and looking at who your target audiences are, right? I'm sure when you launched your business, you had a business plan, and in that business plan, you've identified your audiences. What you may want to do is recalibrate on that. Understand what they're looking for. When I just this top of my head, when I think of cooking class, I think of an opportunity to position it as more than just cooking, right? Like food is culture. Food is everything. When you talk about a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, food is what brings people together. And so if you're able to position your business to say, food is something, and I'm going to teach you how to create something that can bring people together, that can help heal our community, that can, go beyond just the steps of just cooking itself, right? Maybe that's a story that people can get behind. Again, it creates emotion. You talk about things that you've done. I mean, there's probably a reason you've gone into business. I would tell that story. Why did you start your business? What's the purpose? People want to hear purpose and values. And so, again, just top of my head, I don't even know anything about your business, but when I think about food and cooking, it's what I love to do. And I would say that there's more than just the act of cooking itself. It's culture. It's so much deeper. And that might be a way to help get some customers. So just a thought. Any other questions or?
So I know we have a couple podcasters and authors in the audience. I know that's pretty personal.
Yeah.
Any suggestions on how to market your book or your podcast? Moving forward. Yeah.
I think I'm just going to be real here, but I think a lot of people are pushing out books and podcasts, and that's not to say that you're in the wrong line of business. You're in the right line of business, but I think thinking about ways that yours stands out. I don't know what the topics are of these books or podcasts, but when I think about the things that I engage with, I look for, where am I in my life right now and what helps to inspire me? And in my case, to be a better leader. So I read a lot of leadership books. Again, it's knowing your audience and what they're looking for at the moment and tapping into their emotion. And so when I'm sure my Google history and I know my Google history, my search history is all culminating, and they're taking data and they're selling it to advertisers. So I'm getting targeted with, you want a leadership book or a podcast? Here you go. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I look for the ones that really align with who I am. Again, back to values. Who I am, what I'm doing. I run a majority minority business. I love what I do. I love my staff. I go to the end of the earth for them. So I find ways to say, how can I be a better leader to make sure that this company's run right, to protect their jobs and my job and everything. So I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but I would say going back to this first bullet on the screen, you know, around really understanding your audiences, understanding what emotionally motivates them, you know, and trying to capitalize on that. Great question. I'd love to learn more about your books and podcasts. I think that I've always been intrigued by the entry into that market space. And so whenever that happens, there's obviously a demand for it. And I'm curious to figure out how people rise above all the noise, because there's a lot of noise. So happy to connect offline and see if I can give you some more thoughts. On the culinary school, I see that you put the website, thank you. And just one more thought that came to mind. So during the pandemic, I had the pleasure, and I think even our company hosted it. We actually had someone from a culinary school do a virtual like cooking class for us, which was really cool. And so like maybe consider free trials. And I know that like giving away your services for free isn't great. Trust me, especially as a minority business. It's just puts us in twice as hard of a competition. But sometimes people have to experience, right? Like the classes. And again, that whole experience to really understand. So you might consider, you know, going to spaces where your audiences are and saying, hey, just want to come in, I'm giving a 30-minute, you know, I'll give you one recipe and we'll show you kind of what it's like. And you can either do it in person or virtually or whatever. And that might be a way to at least show people, you know, the experience. But I realize that's not driving customers is what you asked for. So consider that, take it with a grain of salt, but yeah. Yeah.
All right, so this hyper local business, again, I raise money, people are in the building. So any advice you have for like local businesses, like how would you change your marketing and how would you, you know, because you're not, it's just marketing, right?
Yeah.
So how would you?
So career coaching, I would say that business in particular, I'm trying to connect the dots. And like in Milwaukee, the issue that we have is our community is underemployed. We don't have opportunity. We talk about that a lot. A business like yours, just off the top of my mind, could open up doors to opportunity for people, and you can inspire them beyond just get a job, right? A job, that word, even that word doesn't give you emotion. It's very transactional, but a career, a purpose, right? Like repositioning it like that and motivating people to take control of their lives and change their own narrative is something that you could even position yourself as is, look, this coaching is a way for you to take control, because I'll tell you right now, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not doing any other job. I'm never going to work for someone. I'm 31 years old. Never going to work for someone. I'm going to do this the rest of my career because it's empowering, you know, and not to say that everyone's made to be an entrepreneur. They're definitely not. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the most fulfilling. And I think for me, if someone came to me and said, hey, your story, whatever, how do you have an impact on Milwaukee? I'd say, well, everyone, it's all of us. You know, I always see these feature articles and all these people in the business journal, and I'm like, I kind of roll my eyes because I'm like, what they're missing is that it's a village. It takes a village. Everyone has to be able to be inspired and lifted up. It can't just be one person at the top of the food chain who's trying to change Milwaukee. That's not how it changes. So my point in all that is maybe you can tie your business to the broader narrative of the issues that we're having, and you can say, look, my business is part of the solution. Okay. And I know everyone likes to complain about problems, but I'm offering a real solution to like problems, and I can show you how the people I've coached have moved up and have helped get back to this community. So just, again, off the top of my head, didn't really know a whole lot about what you do, but I hope that answered your question. Mission Center, okay, even better. I think entrepreneurism is a whole discussion that we struggle with in the Black community, particularly. I think that everyone looks at businesses and goes, anyone can run a business. It's so easy. And everyone on this would laugh because if you've done it, you know it's really difficult. And I think there needs to be a level of education in our community about the importance of entrepreneurship, of owning stuff, because we don't own stuff. We rent our houses. I was driving down here I didn't see hardly any Black-owned supermarkets. I was really frustrated. And every time I drive, I just go, I'm like, why do I see liquor stores and other things? I'm like, this is destroying us. It's literally poisoning us. And so my point though is if we had that education of, hey, let's understand the value of workspaces like this, because they do create jobs eventually, maybe not overnight. It takes time to build a business. They create jobs. Those jobs then allow people to own their homes, which then helps our tax base, which means we get better schools, roads. We can then control the kinds of businesses that come in our community. So instead of someone from outside our community bringing the liquor store around the corner, we could say, no, we want this to be a Black-owned food store. I don't know, whatever, something else. And so these things are connected, right? And again, it's education, it's understanding and connecting the dots people so they see that change takes time, number one. Number two, though, it starts with places like this that create a space for business owners to get on their feet. And, frankly, even when Kane brought this opportunity up to me, I was like, this is great, because I want to be able to show that I'm not saying I'm the most successful person in the world, but we've had a decent amount of success, but I want to be able to have other people replicate that. I'm not here to say I'm the only one and close the door behind me. I don't do that. I really am focused on helping to uplift others who are hopefully can build a business like mine. Hopefully all of you can hire 60 people. That'd be great. I mean, that'd be amazing for our community. So anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry. I'm very emotional about that topic. So yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, co-working spaces, right? Like the core of them is this idea that like you've got people who are usually in the same stage of starting a business, and they're right next to you. So you can go over and talk to someone about something, get advice on things that you wouldn't be able to get exactly in a siloed space. So like it's so collaborative, and it's so important for just lifting each other up. Again, this idea of it takes a village. And I think the idea of community, we got to bring that back, and we live in a world that's so individualistic, and it's too bad because, in communities that have been intentionally separated like ours, it's tough in this environment to get back together. But this space helps us do that, right? So, I know, I'm not gonna speak for him, but I know the mayor is committed to places like this. There's other people who are actually committed to creating change. So maybe we see if there's a way that, you can continue to work with him or others who are really honestly invested in this. So that was not an endorsement of anybody, so for the record. So yeah, are there any more questions? Yeah.
So what is the comment when we were talking about genius scientists? Those spaces where they already talking about money.
Yeah. Exactly. The idea of build it and they will come is not true. It's never been true. No business has ever succeeded by that. I promise you, I know it. And people say, oh, well, marketing, like I said, the myth, marketing doesn't matter. Well, it does. And there's a reason people pay millions of dollars for Super Bowl ads, right? It's not about, am I going to get consumers right away? It's about that brand. And it's about being in the spaces where people are, where they're paying attention. Watching Super Bowl ads is like a thing, right? And it's like any other time of the year, you're not watching the ads. I hate to say that, but sometimes you're skipping through, sometimes you are, but those ads, people watch them for the ads. So you're getting eyeballs and you're getting a plugged in consumer. But again, it's being in the spaces. So if you can't afford a Super Bowl ad, which I can't, I don't know about anyone else here, but you can be in other spaces where you're telling your story, where you're showing those values alignment and all those things. So yeah. Any other questions from I don't see any online. Okay. Well, thank you all for your time. This was really awesome to be able to come speak to you. I love this. I love what you're doing. And I want to be of assistance. I'm willing to give advice to anyone who wants it. Just ask me. I won't charge you, I promise. But yeah, just want to see you all thrive because you're doing amazing things for our community, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. And thanks for having me.
Hey, just wanted to say thank you all for joining in person and online. And honestly, like, it's the 7th largest minority-owned business. Yep, David just won the 52 most influential Black people in Wisconsin award. And the company's been on the Inc. 5000 list 2 years in a row, which is one of the fastest, which usually indicates one of the fastest growing companies. And yeah, he's right here. He just offered to give y'all marketing advice for free. So I know we didn't go into individual businesses, but definitely take them up on that. I don't know the best way, just your email or something.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
shoot you my email address.
All right.
Kane as well, both of us, but I'm happy to connect people directly. If you just want to get coffee or have a chat with me, I'm available, so please. I mean it, you know, I really want to see you guys thrive, so.
Exactly. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining. Definitely take advantage, and we'll see you at the next one. All right.